Captain Lee Do-yun stared at the massive ships floating at the edge of the solar system. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Each one was the size of a small moon. His hand shook a little as he held the communication device. Mars. Station Alpha to Earth Command, he said into the radio. The alien ships are still there. They haven't moved for 3 days. Dr. Park Min-seo walked into the command room. She looked tired. For the past week, she had been studying the alien signals. As Earth's best expert on possible alien life, everyone looked to her for answers. Any luck with the messages? Lee Do-hyun asked. Some, she said. Their language is very strange. They use numbers and pictures more than words. But I think they want to talk. Commander Kim Jae-won entered the room. He was the military leader on Mars Station. He did not trust the aliens. We should be ready to fight, he said. Ships that big don't come in peace. We don't know that, Dr. Park Min-seo replied. Maybe they're just curious about us. Engineer Choi Yuna looked up from her workstation. She had been trying to understand the alien technology. Their ships use energy we've never seen before, she said. If they wanted to hurt us, we couldn't stop them. Suddenly, all the screens in the room lit up. A voice spoke in perfect English. It sounded calm and cold. People of Earth, we are the Hegemony Council. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders. Lee Do-yun pressed the talk button. This is Captain Lee Do-yun of Mars Station Alpha. We're listening. Captain, we will send a small ship to your location. Please prepare one representative to come aboard our vessel. We have much to discuss. The alien ship that came to Mars Station was still huge compared to human ships. It was silver and smooth with no visible weapons. Dr. Park Min-seo volunteered to go aboard. If they wanted to hurt us, they would have done it already, she said. The inside of the alien ship was cold and white. Everything was perfectly clean. Dr. Park Min-seo met 3 aliens. They were tall and thin with blue-gray skin. Their eyes were large and black. They moved in a strange way like they were all thinking the same thoughts. I am Speaker Veltar, one of them said. We represent the Hegemony Council, 7 great species who rule this part of the galaxy. I'm Dr. Park Min-seo. I speak for humanity. The aliens looked at her with their big black eyes. Humanity, Speaker Veltar said slowly. We have studied your species for some time. You are interesting. How long have you been watching us? Dr. Park Min-seo asked. Since you first left your planet, we watch all new species. It is our job to decide what to do with them. This made Dr. Park Min-seo nervous. What do you mean, what to do with them? Some species are smart and strong. They join the hegemony as equals. Some species are dangerous. They must be stopped. Some species are weak but harmless. They get our protection. And humans? The aliens were quiet for a moment. Then Speaker Veltar said, Humans are Tier 7. You are barely smart enough to be called thinking beings, but you are not dangerous. You think with emotions instead of logic. This makes you weak but also harmless. Dr. Park Min-seo felt angry, but tried not to show it. We've built cities, sent ships to other planets, created art and music. Yes, Speaker Veltar said. But you still fight wars over resources you could easily share. You make decisions based on feelings instead of facts. You are like children. Back on Mars Station, Dr. Park Min-seo told the others what she had learned. Commander Kim Jae-won was angry. They think we're stupid children? It gets worse, she said. They want to protect us. That means they'll put stations around Earth and our colonies. They'll watch everything we do. They'll decide what technology we can have. That's not protection, Kim Jae-won said. That's prison, Engineer Choi Yuna was thinking. Maybe we should agree for now. We can learn about their technology while they watch us. Captain Lee Do-yun nodded slowly. We're not ready to fight them, but we can be ready to learn. The next day, the aliens set up their stations. They were small compared to their big ships, but still larger than anything humans had built. One station orbited Earth, one orbited Mars. One sat near the moon. Dr. Park Min-seo met with Speaker Veltar again. Your species may continue your normal activities, the alien said. We will provide protection from dangers in space. In return, some of your people will work on our ships. You will learn about galactic society. What if we refuse? You will not refuse. Tier 7 species always accept protection. It is the logical choice. Dr. Park Min-seo wanted to argue, but she knew the alien was right. Humans had no choice. Over the next few months, everything changed. Some humans went to work on alien ships. They learned about the 7 species that ruled the galaxy. The Veltari were the diplomats. The Krathen were the warriors. The Nexus were the scientists. The other 4 species each had their own jobs in the hegemony. All of them thought humans were simple and weak. They were not mean about it. They treated humans the way humans might treat a pet dog, with kindness, but no real respect. Captain Lee Do-hyun watched everything carefully. He noticed that the aliens always did things the same way. They never changed their plans. They never got creative with problems. They were very smart, but they only thought in straight lines. Meanwhile, engineer Choi Yuna worked on one of the alien stations. She saw their technology up close. It was amazing, but it was also limited. The aliens built things to last forever, but they never improved them. They had been using the same designs for thousands of years. Commander Kim Jae-won studied the alien soldiers. They were strong and well-trained, but they all fought exactly the same way. They followed orders perfectly, but they never improvised. Dr. Park Min-seo learned the most important thing of all. She discovered that humans were not the first species to be protected by the hegemony. There had been others. But those species were gone now. When she asked what happened to them, the aliens always gave the same answer. They were relocated to better worlds. But Dr. Park Min-seo found no records of these other worlds. Late at night, the human leaders met in secret. They're not protecting us, Lee Do-hyun said quietly. They're studying us. And when they're done, we disappear like the others? Kim Jae-won finished. Then we need to be ready, Choi Yuna said. We need to learn everything we can about them while pretending to be the harmless children they think we are. Dr. Park Min-seo looked out at the stars where the alien ships waited. The question is, how long do we have? None of them knew the answer. But they all knew their time was running out. 5 years had passed since the aliens arrived. Ambassador Yoon Si-woo walked through the halls of the hegemony station above Earth. He had learned to smile and nod when the aliens spoke to him like he was a child. But inside, he was always watching and learning. Technical specialist Kang Yoon-ji worked on a Krathen warship. The Krathen were the warrior species of the hegemony. They were big and strong, with thick gray skin and 4 arms. But Kang Yoon-ji had learned something important about them. They never changed their battle plans. Ever. Human Kang. The Krathen, Commander said to her. Check the weapon systems again. Kang Yoon-ji bowed her head. Yes, Commander Thekvar. She had checked the weapons 5 times already today, but the Krathen always followed their schedule exactly. Kang Yoon-ji used these boring jobs to study how their weapons worked. She memorized every detail. The aliens thought she was just following orders. They had no idea she was learning how to destroy their ships. Dr. Lim Tae-ho had a different job. He studied alien psychology on a Nexus research ship. The Nexus were the scientist species. They looked like tall, thin insects with big brains. They thought they were very smart. The humans show interesting emotional patterns, Dr. Lim Tae-ho told research leader Zeketh. Would you like me to write a report? Yes, Zeketh said. We must understand why humans are so illogical. Perhaps we can fix this flaw in future generations. Dr. Lim Tae-ho kept his face calm, but his heart was beating fast. The aliens wanted to change human children. They wanted to make them think like aliens. This was worse than slavery. This was the end of humanity. Security Chief Bai So-young worked at the lunar station. Her job was to make sure human workers were safe. But she had started to notice things. Some humans who went to work on alien ships never came back. When she asked about them, the aliens always said the same thing. Worker Pak Jin-ho was transferred to a better position on Veltari Prime, they would say. Or engineer Lee Soyeon requested assignment to the outer colonies. But Bai So-young checked the records. These humans never sent messages to their families. They never appeared in any alien databases. They had simply vanished. Ambassador Yoon Si-woo learned the most frightening thing of all. In a secret meeting with Speaker Veltar, he was told about the purge protocols. Sometimes, Speaker Veltar explained, protected species become problematic. They ask too many questions. They want independence. When this happens, we must take action for the good of galactic peace. What kind of action? Yoon Si-woo asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Population adjustment. We relocate the troublesome individuals to special colonies. The remaining population becomes more cooperative. Yoon Si-woo nodded and smiled. The hegemony is very wise. But that night, he sent a coded message to Captain Lee Do-yeon on Mars. The message was hidden in a routine supply request. It said, "They kill the ones who resist." Lee Do-yeon was now Admiral Lee Do-yeon. He commanded all human forces in the solar system. When he got Yoon Si-woo's message, he called a secret meeting. Only the most trusted humans were invited. They met in an old mining tunnel on Mars. The walls were thick enough to block alien listening devices. "We need to face the truth," Admiral Lee Do-yeon said. "We're not guests. We're not protected. We're prisoners waiting to be executed." Kang Eun-ji shared what she had learned about alien weapons. Their ships are powerful, but they all have the same weaknesses. They never guard against attacks they don't expect. Dr. Lim Tai-ho explained what he had discovered about alien psychology. They can't understand creativity. When we do something new, it confuses them. They have to stop and think about it. Bai So-young gave the worst news. "I've tracked 37 missing humans in the past year. All of them were smart. All of them asked questions. None of them really transferred to other jobs." Engineer Choi Yuna had been very busy. She had been secretly building things. "I've been modifying our equipment," she said. "The aliens think we're just fixing broken machines, but I'm actually making weapons." "What kind of weapons?" Admiral Lee Do-yeon asked. "The kind they won't expect." She smiled. Meanwhile, the aliens continued their normal routines. They watched human cities with their sensors. They listened to human communications. They studied human behavior like scientists studying animals in a zoo. But they missed something important. Humans were talking to each other in ways the aliens didn't understand. A joke between friends carried secret information. A love song contained military codes. Children's games taught resistance tactics. The aliens thought human emotion was a weakness. They didn't realize it was a secret language. Commander Kim Jae-won, now General Kim Jae-won, was building a resistance network. He used human emotions to hide his real work. When he visited different human colonies, he acted like he was just checking on their feelings and morale. "How are your people doing?" he would ask a colony leader. "We miss home cooking," the leader might reply. To the aliens, this sounded like emotional nonsense, but home cooking was code for, "We need weapons." Missing meant they were ready to fight. The resistance grew slowly and carefully. They couldn't move too fast. The aliens were always watching. But humans had one advantage. They could lie. Not just lie with words, but lie with their whole bodies. They could smile while planning rebellion. They could act grateful while plotting escape. They could seem weak while growing strong. Technical specialist Kang Eun-ji made another important discovery. The aliens had files on other species they had protected. The files went back thousands of years. Every single protected species had eventually been wiped out. The pattern was always the same. First came protection, then came integration, then came population adjustment, finally came extinction. "We're not the first," she reported to Admiral Lee Do-yeon. "And if we don't do something, we won't be the last." Security Chief Bae So-young found something else in the alien databases. Earth was scheduled for Phase 3 implementation in 8 months. Phase 3 was population adjustment. Ambassador Yoon Si-woo confirmed this in another meeting with Speaker Veltar. "Humanity is showing concerning signs of independence," the alien told him. "Some individuals ask inappropriate questions. Some Resist beneficial modifications. We may need to implement corrective measures. What kind of corrective measures? Yoon Siwoo asked, though he already knew. Relocation of problematic individuals. Genetic modification of the breeding population. Standard protocols for Phase 3 species. That night, the resistance leaders held an emergency meeting. Admiral Lee Do-yun looked at each of them. 8 months, he said. In 8 months, they start killing us. Then we have 8 months to get ready, General Kim Jae-won replied. Dr. Lim Tai-ho had been studying alien history. I've found records of 17 species that were eliminated. They all made the same mistake. They tried to fight the aliens like aliens. They used logic and direct confrontation. So what do we do differently? Bae So-young asked. Engineer Choi Yuna smiled. We fight like humans. The aliens thought they understood humanity. They had studied human history, human psychology, human technology. They knew humans were emotional and illogical. They knew humans were weak and divided. But they didn't understand what happened when humans got angry. Really angry. They didn't understand that human emotions weren't a bug in human programming. They were a feature, and they definitely didn't understand that when humans felt cornered, they didn't surrender. They got creative. The resistance began to prepare for war. But it wouldn't be the kind of war the aliens expected. It would be a human war. Messy, emotional, unpredictable, and absolutely terrifying to species that only knew how to think in straight lines. The countdown had begun. 8 months until the aliens tried to destroy humanity. The aliens thought they were ready for anything. They were wrong. Field Agent Song Hyerim moved carefully through the dark corridors of the alien research station. She wore a maintenance worker's uniform and carried a toolkit. To anyone watching, she looked like she was just fixing air filters. But Song Hyerim was actually planning the most dangerous mission of her life. 3 months had passed since the resistance learned about Phase 3. Admiral Lee Do-yun had sent agents to different alien facilities. They needed to learn exactly what the aliens were planning. Song Hyerim's target was Research Station Kappa 7, hidden in the asteroid belt. The aliens thought no human knew about it. They were wrong. Intelligence Officer Hwang Min-jae had discovered the station by tracking supply shipments. Medical supplies, restraint devices, and brain scanning equipment, he had reported. Whatever they're doing there, it's not good. Song Hyerim found the restricted section after 2 hours of searching. The security door used alien biometric scanners, but engineer Choi Yuna had solved that problem weeks ago. Song Hyerim placed a small device on the scanner. The device had been made from human DNA samples and alien technology. The door opened. Inside, Song Hyerim found something that made her stomach turn. Holding cells filled with humans. They were alive, but something was wrong with them. Their eyes were empty. They moved like robots. Subject 47 shows complete personality suppression, she heard a Nexus scientist saying in the next room. The fear response has been eliminated. Creativity levels are down to 0.3% of baseline. Song Hyerim used her hidden camera to record everything. In lab after lab, she saw humans being changed. Some had devices attached to their heads. Others had been given drugs that made them think like aliens. All of them had lost what made them human. She found Dr. Cho Min-soo, a scientist who had disappeared 6 months ago. He was sitting in a chair, staring at nothing. When Song Hyerim whispered his name, he looked at her with blank eyes. Processing error, he said in a flat voice. Report to reconditioning station. Song Hyerim wanted to scream. Instead, she took more pictures and left quickly. She had seen enough. Back on Mars, the resistance leaders watched Song Hyerim's recordings in horrified silence. The aliens weren't just planning to kill troublesome humans. They were planning to turn humans into living robots. This is how they do it, Dr. Lim Tai-ho said quietly. They don't kill everyone at once. They change the rebels and use them to control the others. Engineer Choi Yuna was studying the alien brain modification devices. I can build something to block their signals, she said, but we need to test it carefully. Intelligence Officer Hwang Min-jae had more bad news. He had intercepted alien communications using equipment Choi Yuna had built. Phase 3 starts in 5 months, not 8. They moved up the schedule. Why? Admiral Lee Do-hyun asked. Because they're detecting resistance activity. They know we're up to something. General Kim Jae-won spread a star map on the table. Then we need to move faster. How many people can we get off-world before they start Phase 3? Not enough, Admiral Lee Do-hyun said. We can't run from this, we have to fight. But how do you fight an enemy with ships the size of moons? How do you beat 7 species that have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Park Min-seo, now elderly but still sharp, had been studying alien history in detail. She found something the aliens had forgotten about themselves. They're not as united as they pretend, she told the resistance leaders. 5,000 years ago, the 7 species fought each other constantly. The hegemony was created to stop those wars. So? General Kim Jae-won asked. So they stopped learning how to deal with chaos. They've been living in perfect order for so long they can't handle unexpected problems. Dr. Lim Tai-ho understood immediately. Their strength is also their weakness. They're so organized that they can't adapt. Engineer Choi Yuna smiled. And adaptation is what humans do best. The resistance began to change their strategy. Instead of trying to build ships that could match alien technology, they focused on building chaos. Choi Yuna's team created dozens of different weapons, each one completely different from the others. Some used traditional explosives, others used electromagnetic pulses. Some were designed to confuse alien sensors, others were meant to make alien computers crash. The point isn't to have the best weapon, she explained. The point is to have weapons they've never seen before. Meanwhile, Hwang Min-jae was spreading false information through alien communication networks. He made it look like humans were planning to attack the wrong targets at the wrong times. The aliens began preparing for threats that didn't exist. Song, Hiram and her agents started sabotaging alien equipment in ways that looked like accidents. A sensor array would fail because of space dust. A communication relay would stop working due to solar interference. The aliens never suspected deliberate action because humans weren't supposed to be smart enough for sabotage. But the most important work was being done by Dr. Lim Tai-ho. He was studying alien psychology and finding weaknesses no one had ever noticed. The Krathan warriors are incredibly strong, he reported, but they panic if their orders don't make sense. The Nexus scientists are brilliant, but they shut down if given too many problems at once. Each alien species had evolved to be perfect at one thing, but that perfection had made them vulnerable to chaos. Admiral Lee Do-hyun realized they had found the key to victory. We don't fight them like they expect. We don't use their rules. We fight like humans. The resistance began training for a new kind of war. Instead of large battles with clear objectives, they planned hundreds of small, confusing actions. Instead of trying to destroy alien ships, they would make the aliens destroy themselves. 3 weeks before Phase 3 was scheduled to begin, the resistance was ready to test their theories. Song Hiram led a small team to attack a minor alien outpost. The attack was deliberately chaotic. Her team used 7 different types of weapons, attacked from 5 different directions, and changed their plan every few minutes. The alien defenders were completely confused. The outpost fell in 20 minutes. More importantly, the aliens took 6 hours to send a coherent report about what had happened. They couldn't understand how the attack had worked. It worked, Song Hiram reported back. They're completely lost when we don't follow their rules. But the test attack had consequences. The aliens realized humans were more dangerous than they had thought. Speaker Veltar called an emergency meeting with Ambassador Yoon Si-woo. Human activities have become problematic, the alien said. We are implementing immediate Phase 3 protocols. Yoon Si-woo kept his face calm. When will this begin? Now. Across the solar system, alien ships began moving toward human colonies. The time for hiding was over. Admiral Lee Do-hyun received the warning from Yoon Si-woo and sent out the code signal to all resistance cells. The storm begins. Engineer Choi Yuna activated the weapons she had been building in secret. General Kim Jae-won moved his hidden forces into position. Intelligence Officer Hwang Min-jae began jamming alien communications. The aliens thought they were beginning a simple extermination operation. They expected humans to surrender or die quickly. Instead, the humans disappeared. Every colony, every station, every ship seemed to empty out. When alien forces arrived, they found only empty buildings and confused silence. Where did they go? Commander Thekvar demanded. His Krathan warriors had no answer. According to their sensors, 2 million humans had simply vanished. The aliens didn't know that the humans hadn't run away. They were hiding in places the aliens would never think to look. In asteroid mines, in the outer clouds of gas giants, in space stations that looked like ordinary rocks. And while the aliens searched for them, the humans were getting ready to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened their families. The war was about to begin. But it wouldn't be the war. Anyone expected it was going to be a human war, and the aliens had no idea what that meant. Dr. Nam Jin-woo had spent his entire life studying what made humans different from other species. Now, hiding in a secret research base inside a hollowed-out asteroid, he finally had his answer. "I know why they're afraid of us," he told the other resistance leaders during their emergency meeting. General Kim Jae-won leaned forward. "Tell us." "Every other species in the galaxy chose one path," Dr. Nam Jin-woo explained. "The Krathan chose strength and unity. Every Krathan thinks the same way. The Nexus chose intelligence and logic. Every Nexus follows the same reasoning patterns. And humans?" Admiral Lee Do-hyun asked. "Humans chose both. We can work together like a hive when we need to. But we can also think as individuals when that's better. No other species can do that." Pilot An Seo-yeon understood immediately. "That's why our attacks work. We coordinate like a team, but each person can change the plan on their own." Strategist Oh Dong-min was studying reports from across the solar system. "The aliens are getting more confused every day. They can't predict what we'll do next." 3 weeks had passed since the aliens began Phase 3. In that time, the humans had launched over 200 attacks. None of them followed any pattern the aliens could understand. Sometimes humans attacked with overwhelming force. Sometimes they used clever tricks. Sometimes they didn't attack at all, but just made the aliens think they were being attacked. Pilot An Seo-yeon had led the most successful mission so far. Her squadron had destroyed a Krathan command ship using tactics that should have been impossible. "We approached from 6 different directions," she reported. Each pilot was told to improvise once the fighting started. The Krathan couldn't adapt to 6 different battle plans happening at the same time. The Krathan commander had actually sent a message to his superiors saying the humans were using impossible tactics. He couldn't understand how a group could fight together without following the same plan. But the humans were learning something even more important. They weren't alone. Strategist Oh Dong-min had intercepted communications from other species in the galaxy. The aliens had been keeping them secret, but now their existence was being revealed. "There are 17 other species the hegemony calls inferior," he reported. "They're all scheduled for eventual Phase 3 termination." Dr. Nam Jin-woo realized this was their chance. "If we can contact them, show them how to fight back. We could turn this into a galaxy-wide rebellion," General Kim Jae-won finished. The problem was making contact. The hegemony had spent thousands of years keeping the inferior species separated from each other. They were scattered across the galaxy and most didn't even know the others existed. Engineer Choi Yuna had been working on this problem. "I've modified our communication systems," she said. "We can send messages the hegemony can't detect or intercept." The first species they contacted were the Keth. They were reptilian traders who lived on ships moving between star systems. The hegemony used them to transport goods but treated them like servants. Admiral Lee Do-hyun sent a simple message. "The hegemony plans to kill you. We can teach you how to fight back." The Keth response came 3 days later. "Humans speak truth. Keth have seen the extermination lists. We wish to learn." The second species were the Vorn. They were beings made of gas who lived in the atmospheres of giant planets. The hegemony used them as living computers but gave them no rights. The Vorn were harder to communicate with, but Dr. Nam Jinwoo figured out how to translate human concepts into their language of electromagnetic pulses. Freedom concept unknown. To Vorn came their first message. Hegemony controllers define all existence. How can small beings resist great power? By being unpredictable, Dr. Nam Jinwoo replied. Hegemony cannot fight what they cannot understand. Over the next month, the human resistance made contact with 6 more species. Each one had different abilities, different ways of thinking, different strengths. The Keith were excellent at moving unseen through space. The Vorn could disable electronics from inside a planet's atmosphere. The crystal-based gel could survive in environments that would kill other life forms. But all of them had the same problem. They had been slaves for so long they had forgotten how to think for themselves. That's when Dr. Nam Jinwoo made his most important discovery. The hegemony's greatest fear isn't rebellion, he told the resistance leaders. It's independence. They're terrified that someone will teach the slave species how to think freely, and that's exactly what we're going to do, Admiral Lee Do-yun said. The humans began teaching the other species something the galaxy had forgotten: how to improvise. Pilot An Seo-yun worked with Keth ship captains, showing them how to change course in the middle of a mission if they spotted a better opportunity. Keth mind struggles with concept, Captain Vexai told her. Orders exist for purpose of following. Sometimes breaking orders is better than following them, An Seo-yun replied. If you see a chance to strike a better target, take it. It was hard for the Keth to understand at first. They had followed orders for 1,000 years, but slowly they began to learn. General Kim Jae-won taught Vorn clouds how to coordinate attacks without central command. Instead of having one leader, give orders, each cloud would decide for itself how to help. Strategist Oh Dongmin showed the Gel how to use their crystal bodies in ways the hegemony had never imagined. Instead of just being living tools, they could become living weapons. The hardest part was convincing the alien species that they could trust each other. The hegemony had spent centuries teaching them that cooperation with other species was impossible. Keth nature is trade and profit, Captain Vexai said during a joint planning session. Vorn nature is analysis and computation. Zel nature is endurance and persistence. These natures cannot mix. Dr. Nam Jinwoo smiled. Humans used to think the same thing about ourselves. We had warriors and scientists and traders and artists. We thought they couldn't work together. But we learned that different strengths make a group stronger, not weaker. The breakthrough came when the coalition attempted their first joint operation. The target was a hegemony data center that contained the locations of all inferior species in the galaxy. Keth ships provided transportation. Vorn clouds disabled the security systems. Zel crystals absorbed energy weapon attacks. And humans coordinated the entire operation, changing plans in real time as new opportunities appeared. The mission was a complete success, but more importantly, it proved that the different species could work together. Impossible, Speaker Veltar told the Hegemony Council when he received the report. Inferior species cannot coordinate complex operations. The data must be wrong. But the data wasn't wrong, and neither were the reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Slave species were rebelling everywhere, using tactics that made no sense to hegemony commanders. The aliens tried to adapt. They sent more ships, used bigger weapons, implemented stricter security. Nothing worked. Every time they thought they understood the rebellion's pattern, the pattern changed. Every time they prepared for one type of attack, a completely different attack would come. Dr. Nam Jinwoo explained it to the coalition leaders. The hegemony spent so long controlling everything, they forgot how to deal with chaos. But chaos is natural to independent minds. The rebellion was spreading faster than the hegemony could contain it. 17 slave species were now fighting back, each one learning from the others while developing their own unique methods. But the hegemony had one final card to play. If they couldn't control the galaxy through fear, they would destroy it through force. The emergency message came from Intelligence Officer Huang Minjae. Hegemony Council has authorized total pacification protocol. They're bringing in their war, fleets from other galaxies. Admiral Lee Do-hyun looked at the data. Ships were coming, thousands of them, each one powerful enough to destroy a planet. How long do we have? General Kim Jae-won asked. 2 months, Hwang Min-jae replied. The coalition had 2 months to prepare for the biggest battle in galactic history. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy with technology thousands of years more advanced than their own. But they had something the hegemony had never faced before, a united galaxy of free minds, each one thinking differently, each one ready to improvise. Dr. Nam Jin-woo smiled as he looked at the star charts showing coalition forces spread across hundreds of systems. They still don't understand what makes us dangerous. What's that? Pilot An Seo-yeon asked. We're not trying to beat them at their own game. We're changing the rules of the game entirely. The final battle was coming, and for the first time, in galactic history, the outcome was completely unpredictable. Fleet Admiral Lee Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the Resistance flagship, watching as thousands of hegemony warships entered the solar system. Each enemy vessel was massive, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The invasion fleet was bigger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Sir, Communications Officer Park Chae-young reported, we're receiving surrender demands on all frequencies. What do they say? Lee Do-hyun asked. The same message in 17 different languages. Submit to immediate processing or face total annihilation. Special Forces Colonel Jong Woo-jin checked his equipment one final time. Processing means being turned into robots. Annihilation means death. Not much of a choice. There's always a third option, Lee Do-hyun said. We fight. The odds were impossible. The coalition had managed to gather 3,000 ships from all the rebel species combined. The hegemony had brought 50,000. Each hegemony ship was individually more powerful than 10 coalition vessels. But weapons designer Im Kyung-hwan had been working for 2 months to even those odds. Admiral, he reported, all ships are equipped with the new weapons packages. None of them are the same. That was the key to their strategy. Instead of building standard weapons that the hegemony could analyze and counter, Im Kyung-hwan had created thousands of unique weapon systems. Some used conventional explosives. Others manipulated gravity. Some fired pure energy. Others released swarms of nanobots. The goal isn't to have the best weapons, he explained to the fleet commanders. It's to use weapons they've never seen before and will never see again. Communications Officer Park Chae-young had solved an even bigger problem. How to coordinate 17 different species who couldn't speak each other's languages properly. She had developed a new communication system based on mathematical concepts and emotional symbols that all species could understand. For the first time in galactic history, completely different life forms could share complex ideas instantly. All coalition forces report ready, she announced. Keth trading fleets are in position. Vorn atmospheric clouds are standing by. Zell crystal formations have assumed defensive patterns. Colonel Jong Woo-jin's Special Forces teams were already moving. They had infiltrated hegemony ships during the approach, disguised as maintenance workers or hidden in supply containers. Phase 1 is go, he reported. We're inside their command vessels. The battle began exactly as the hegemony expected. Their massive ships formed perfect battle lines and began advancing on coalition positions. Their weapons fired in coordinated patterns designed to overwhelm any defense. But the coalition didn't defend. They scattered. 3,000 ships broke apart into hundreds of small groups, each one moving in a different direction. Some headed for the asteroid belt. Others dove toward the sun. Many simply disappeared behind planets and moons. Confused. Enemy formations, the Krathan fleet commander reported to his superiors. Coalition forces refused standard engagement. Pursue and destroy, came the response. Maintain formation discipline. That was their first mistake. The hegemony split their forces to chase the scattered coalition ships. But the coalition ships weren't running away. They were leading the enemy into traps. Pilot An Seo-yeon commanded a squadron of modified fighters hidden in Saturn's rings. When a hegemony pursuit force arrived, she activated Im Kyung-hwan's latest invention, gravity bombs. The weapons didn't destroy the enemy ships. Instead, They created powerful gravitational fields that pulled the ships into Saturn's atmosphere. The mighty hegemony vessels designed for space combat were crushed by atmospheric pressure. Enemy squadron eliminated, An Sioyan reported. No shots fired. Similar scenes played out across the solar system. Keth traders led enemy fleets into asteroid fields where gel crystals waited. The crystals absorbed the energy from hegemony, weapons, and reflected it back at the attackers. Vorn clouds engulfed enemy ships and disabled their electronics from the inside. Without power, the ships became helpless targets for coalition forces. But the most effective attacks came from Colonel Zhang Wujin's infiltration teams. Team 7 has reached the Nexus command ship, he reported, beginning Cognitive Disruption Protocol. The Cognitive Disruption Protocol was Dr. Nam Jinwu's most brilliant creation. Instead of trying to destroy alien computers, it fed them impossible problems. Nexus ship systems were designed to process information logically, but the infiltration teams uploaded databases full of human art, music, and poetry. The alien computers tried to analyze these illogical creations and became so confused they shut down. Nexus flagship is dead in space, Team 7 reported. Their computers are trying to calculate the mathematical value of Mozart's symphony, Number 9. Across the battlefield, hegemony forces began experiencing failures they couldn't understand. Weapon systems shut down randomly. Navigation computers gave contradictory directions. Communication networks became jammed with what appeared to be nursery rhymes and cooking recipes. The hegemony commanders tried to adapt, but every solution they attempted created new problems. When they centralized command to avoid communication failures, Colonel Zhang Wujin's teams attacked the central computers with logic bombs disguised as children's games. When they spread out to avoid concentrated attacks, the coalition hit them with swarm tactics using thousands of tiny disposable fighters. When they tried to retreat and regroup, they found their escape routes blocked by Keth trading ships that had been hiding in hyperspace for weeks. Fleet Admiral Li Doyun watched the battle reports with amazement. "We're actually winning." "Not winning," Communications Officer Park Chae-young corrected. "We're teaching them that they can't win." That was the real strategy. The coalition wasn't trying to destroy the hegemony fleet. They were trying to convince the hegemony that victory was impossible. Every attack was designed to be confusing rather than devastating. Every tactic was unpredictable rather than efficient. The goal was to make the enemy give up, not to kill them all. This psychological approach was working. Hegemony commanders were sending increasingly panicked reports back to their superiors. "Enemy forces use impossible tactics," reported Commander Thekfar. "Coalition ships coordinate without central command. Individual vessels change strategies without authorization. This violates all principles of military logic." "Adapt your tactics," came the response from Hegemony High Command. "Impossible. Enemy tactics have no pattern to analyze. Recommend immediate withdrawal for strategic reassessment." But the Hegemony Council refused to admit defeat. Instead, they made a desperate decision. "Activate the planet crackers, Speaker," Veltar ordered. The planet crackers were the hegemony's ultimate weapons. Each one could destroy an entire world. They had hoped to capture Earth intact for study, but now they just wanted to end the rebellion. "Sir," Im Kyung-hwan reported, "we're detecting massive energy buildups in the enemy command ships. They're preparing to destroy Earth." Fleet Admiral Li Doyun felt cold fear in his stomach. This was the moment he had dreaded. "How do you stop planet-killing weapons?" "All coalition forces," he broadcast, "execute final protocol." The final protocol was something they had hoped never to use. It required every ship in the coalition to attack the planet crackers simultaneously, knowing that most of them would be destroyed in the process. But as the coalition forces began their desperate charge, something unexpected happened. Hegemony. Ships began turning their weapons on each other. "What's happening?" Park Chae-young asked. Colonel Zhang Wujin's voice came over the radio, filled with excitement. "The infiltration teams reached the planet crackers control systems. We uploaded the ultimate logic bomb." "What kind of logic bomb?" Li Dohyun asked. We told their computers that destroying planets was illogical because planets contain valuable resources. But we also told them that not destroying planets was illogical because rebels might escape. Then we told them to solve the contradiction. Planet Cracker's artificial intelligence systems tried to process this impossible problem. Unable to find a logical solution, they began following both directives simultaneously. They fired their planet-killing weapons at other hegemony ships, reasoning that this was both destroying and not destroying planets. Within minutes, the most powerful weapons in the galaxy were tearing apart their own fleet. Enemy forces are in complete disarray, reported pilot An Seoyeon. They're attacking themselves faster than we ever could. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Word of the Coalition's victory was spreading to every slave species in hegemony space. Rebellions were starting on 1,000 worlds. But Fleet Admiral Lee Do-yeon knew the hegemony wouldn't give up easily. They would regroup, build new fleets, develop new strategies. "Sir," Communications Officer Park Chae-young said, "we're receiving a message from the surviving hegemony ships." "What do they want?" Lee Do-yeon asked. "To surrender." For the first time in thousands of years, the mighty hegemony was asking for mercy. But the question remained. What would the Coalition do with victory? The answer would determine the future of the galaxy.